Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be ranking all of the Spunpsy movies. There's only 4, which I didn't realize when I decided I was going to make this video. I thought that there was more than this. But that being said, should be a very quick video. None of these movies are very good, which actually, not gonna lie, made it a lot harder to rank. So, for people who don't know, Spunpsy, that's a Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, or whatever it's called. And it's the Morbius movies, the 2 Venom movies, and Madam Web now. And I'm very excited to rank these. Let's dive right into it. So coming in dead last place, we have the movie Morbius. I think that this movie isn't nearly as bad as a lot of people give it credit for, but I will say at the end of the day, this movie is just painfully unforgettable. I could probably go watch this movie right now in preparation for this video. Guarantee you by the time I sit down to actually record things, I will not remember anything that has happened in this movie. I have seen it twice, and I genuinely don't think that there's anything particularly that stands out about it. There are a couple of moments, like him flying through the subway, which are like kind of cool, and in theory should work really well, but because there's like no context behind it that makes it meaningful, there's no actual moments where we really get a full good idea of like what his power set is, that Morbius just ultimately is like just a sloppy mess of a movie. The plot is very basic. The main characters are very basic. I think that the rivalry between the main character and the villain is really basic and boring, and Matt Smith tries his best to play an interesting villain here, but it just falls flat on its face. It's not an entertaining movie, and overall, I would not recommend it to anybody. And now coming in third place, we have one that I would recommend to people, Madam Web. Personally, I think that this movie is pretty bad, and there's a lot of editing issues with it. The acting is not great in a lot of the moments. The pacing of this movie is absolutely terrible. I just made a full-length review of this movie if you want to see that. But overall, I think that this movie has one thing over Morbius, which I will just go ahead and say. This movie is going to be a lot more memorable. There are a lot of funny sequences in this movie that probably aren't supposed to be funny, but there are definitely things that'll, you'll think about this movie and you'll be like, hey, this was a thing that happened. That's kind of weird. And I think for that fact alone, it definitely puts it above Morbius. But the story, relatively basic. It's not that interesting. They definitely advertised this movie completely wrong, in my opinion. They shouldn't have showed the Spider-Woman because the Spider-Women are not in the movie at all. And I think that Ezekiel Sims as the villain here does not work well at all. I feel like he just feels so forced. Like every single moment where he's like going around doing something evil does not feel like he needs to be doing it at all. He's just doing it because he's scared that he's gonna die one day, and it really bothers me because like, why? And then also this movie takes place in 2003, and there's a lot of technological things that Ezekiel Sims is able to do in this movie that definitely would not have been possible until at least 2020, give or take. Like a lot of the things he does is stuff that would still be relatively unrealistic for us today in modern day or whatever. And I just thought that that was weird. There's a couple of moments in here that I like. The musical, the music soundtrack or whatever is decent. The visualization of the Web of Life and Destiny isn't bad. Like, it's not terrible, but overall, it's just not a very good movie. But like I said, there are some laugh out loud moments. Don't know if they were intentional, but it happens a couple of times. It's interesting. Now, coming in second place, which it blows my mind that this is one of the top 2 because I absolutely hate this movie. I don't like it at all, and I have so many complaints about it. But Venom, Let There Be Carnage. This is the second Venom movie, and personally, I don't think there is a single good moment that happens in this movie until the credits roll. The end credit scene of this movie was 100% Sony's, first time doing this, where they're like, oh my god, yeah, this movie wasn't great. Throw in a really great post-credit scene. So people who just watched this movie will walk away from the theater thinking, oh my god, that was epic, that was amazing. And they completely forget about the fact that the actual movie itself is so garbage. It's so bad. They got some great casting. The person who plays Cletus Cassidy, I'm blanking on his name right now. Woody Harrelson, is that right? He is literally perfect casting to play this Carnage character, and they don't really do much with him at all in this movie. I feel like they really like speed run his character. He has this weird girlfriend who is introduced who is adding absolutely nothing to the plot. It just makes it where it's like, it kind of feels like they were trying to rip off Jared Leto's Joker and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad movie, which is not something you want to rip off at all. And overall, I just think that everything with the villains in here is absolutely terrible. It's really, really dark for the majority of the movie. So there's a lot of moments where it's like, it's really, really hard to understand what's going on with the action sequences. There's some car chase scenes that, once again, it's really dark, so it's hard to follow. And overall, it's just not a very good movie. But that being said, some things that do put this above Madam Web and Morbius. I think that Eddie Brock is always a very charming character. And in this, the whole concept of like him keeping live chickens so Venom can eat live animals is very interesting. And then them kind of having their like moody little breakup montage where Eddie goes around and kind of like connects with a bunch of random people in a bar and like starts partying. I love that little party animal scene with Venom because it's so ridiculous and we don't need it at all, but it's funny, it's entertaining, and what's it called? Overall, I think that entire subplot of them slowly realizing that they should be heroes and them having their kind of like lethal protector kind of conversation and stuff like that, it works. It's not terrible. I don't hate it. But that being said, I really strongly dislike this movie. But coming in first, the only movie that has been good, the only movie that has made sense to be made, the Venom movie. Personally, I think that the action sequences in this movie are relatively good. I think that this movie is one of the few ones where it's like, yes, you can make this movie without Spider-Man and it works. It's okay. It actually kind of makes sense a little bit. The whole concept of Eddie Brock being this reporter who kind of goes crazy and goes off the rails or whatever and is kind of at a really low point in his life, and then he gets the Venom symbiote and it kind of turns his life around, is fantastic. I think that that's an interesting story. I think it works. The villain here is incredibly generic and boring and basic, which is crazy because that actor is actually a pretty talented actor, and if you've seen him in other things, you're kind of like, wow, how did they waste this actor so much in this movie? But I think that it's interesting. This kind of came out before Elon Musk and all of his like SpaceX things kind of came out, but like this villain resembles like Elon Musk a lot, which I think is just like an interesting thing. I don't think it helps add anything or take anything away from the story. I just wanted to point it out. I thought it was weird. And overall, I like the kind of like concept of Venom kind of hopping around from people to people until finding Eddie Brock and realizing that, you know, they're a perfect pair and they have this really good match. There's a lot of memorable scenes in this movie as well, like the lobster tank stuff, where and the fact that that's unscripted. Dude, Tom Hardy is just perfect. This movie does not work at all if Tom Hardy is does not do as well with this role as he does. Like, Tom Hardy just went full crazy with this role, and he plays both Venom and Eddie Brock, and their chemistry is just absolutely incredible, and it's amazing what all he's able to do with this character. And I think that that's something that Sony has tried to recapture with every single one of these movies. They've picked relatively big name actors and actresses to play some of these roles. Like Madam Web, Dakota Johnson is a pretty talented actress. Obviously, a lot of people know her from the 50 Shades of Grey movies, which are not great, but she is a talented actress and she has a lot of good acting chops. So putting her as the star of a show kind of makes sense a little bit, hoping that, you know, she'd be able to bring something to the table to make it better. I understand what they're trying to do there. Jared Leto, once again, a lot of people are very quick to kind of give him a bunch of crap and say that he's not a very good actor, but, like, the dude has an Oscar for acting. So, like, he kind of knows what he's doing at least a little bit. And it's just very interesting to me that, like, this movie came out and then Sony was like, oh my god, yeah, this movie worked really well. Let's start doing more movies like it. And they kind of went with just, let's sign this A-list actor and hope that they can make this role magical. I'm expecting it to work with Kraven the Hunter, though. When Kraven the Hunter comes out later this year, I will be very surprised if I don't like that movie because Aaron Taylor-Johnson is fantastic. I love Aaron Taylor-Johnson. But that being said, that was pretty much it for this video. One more memorable thing that I want to talk about Venom. The scene where they have like their Venom makeout kiss because the symbiote is like connected to Eddie's like ex-girlfriend or whatever, and they're meeting up or whatever, and she needs to give the symbiote to Eddie, and Venom's like, let me be a wingman real quick, and he just has them make out. So interesting, so weird, but it works. It's funny. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe. Now, hopefully, see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow. Back at it again, but that's a relevant flow. So smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.